Hello and welcome back to Oschersleben. If you've been with us at all for the previous sessions this weekend, you'll know that we're in for a cracking 10th round of TCR Europe 2019. It's Mark James in the commentary box for the 5th and final time this weekend, and usually we've streamed all our sessions. So the two free practice sessions on Friday, qualifying in race 1 yesterday, and now race 2 today. Now those figures don't really give you an idea, but it's about the same temperature as it was yesterday. A fraction under 24 hours ago, we had race 1. It feels much closer, much warmer today. And as you can see from those clouds, there is an overcast cloud base to the Oschersleben circuit here in what was East Germany. We've the 10th round of the series, and we're looking there at the grid formed up. And quite a bit to tell you following race 1 yesterday with the outcome. Let me just break off and explain. That is the Oschersleben mascot. And we were saying yesterday that, is he an ostrich? Is he a chicken? Is he a pigeon? That is an ostrich, apparently. And his or her name is Arena. And the reason being is that there is a wildlife park in town. They have an ostrich sponsored by the circuit called Arena. Surprise, surprise. So now we know it's an ostrich. 28 cars entered for this weekend then. Originally 29 if you saw the entry list back in the week. The driver we lost was John Filippi in the Renault Megane, and so we are down from 7 brands to 6. 2 Audis, 4 Cupras, 4 Hondas, 10 Hyundais, 5 Peugeots and 3 Volkswagens making up our 28 entries. And a few surprises, I think it's fair to say, sprung by qualifying and race 1 yesterday. A brilliant result for Andreas Beckmann, subsequently taken away. Nelson Ponciatici finished 2nd, subsequently taken away. I'll explain that hopefully when we get time on the green flag lap. But there is the man on pole position. Didn't finish yesterday because of an incident involving David Kajaya. Alex Morgan, that is, from the UK, in the Wolf Power Cupra, who is on pole position. Alongside him on row 1 of the grid is the current championship leader, Josh Files. He's had a bit of an up and down weekend, I think it's fair to say. Not happy with the car. Josh was saying that he broke the subframe in free practice at the chicane, and the team really struggling to get to grips with repairing it. They changed the steering rack and the differential overnight. That doesn't seem to have done a great deal to the car. Josh was saying it seems to be skipping through corners, and the steering wheel kind of fighting itself in his hands as he goes through corners, so slightly concerned. Row 2 of the grid, there is Tom Coronel. We'll start from P3. And Coronel yesterday finishing just off the podium after the revisions of the... before the revisions, I should say, of the results. And alongside Tom on row 2 is a new driver to TCR Europe, replacing Dusan Borkovic in the target competition Hyundai. There he is, car number 58 from Austria, Dominik Baumann. Now, will Baumann play a supporting role to Josh Files in this race? Will he be able to get up alongside, just behind Josh Files, and play the rear gunner and keep the pressure off Files? Now, it all depends how bad that problem is with Files' car. If he can get to turn 1 ahead of Morgan, if Baumann can maybe muscle his way through, then potentially Baumann can play a supporting role. But as we saw yesterday, incidents are plenty. And just as I was saying that Dan Lloyd was on course to take victory, and Dan Lloyd was far too experienced to make a mistake, he did just that. The tyres were going off, in fairness, and so he ran momentarily wide, just allowed Andreas Beckmann to dive up the inside. There is Andreas's sister, Jessica. She's on row 3 of the grid, alongside Jessica, the leading Audi of Gilles Magnus, who we should see in a moment. As we clear the grid, race 2 scheduled to get underway at 1:30 local time. 30-second board going out then. The grid is cleared. And as the cars will set off on their green flag lap, I'll take you through the grid positions and also, as I said, explain some of the issues. Don't build your part. Some of the issues that we had following race 1 when the stewards considered several incidents. Let's get one out of the way first of all, and that was the collision between the 2 Cupras. David Kajaya and Alex Morgan spun Alex Morgan around coming out of turn 14 and into retirement. David Kajaya was given a drive-through for that incident, didn't take the drive-through and was then given a black flag, came into the pits very unhappy and retired, parked the car up. He was then given a €1,000 fine for not taking the drive-through. So the stewards really starting to lay down the law this weekend. So then, starting grid. On the front row, Alex Morgan and Josh Files. Row 2, Tom Coronel and Dominic Baumann. Row 3, Jessica Beckman and Gilles Magnus. Row 4, Nelson Ponciatici and Santiago Urrutia. Row 5, Dan Lloyd and Andreas Beckman. Gianni Morbidelli and Luca Engstler. Then Matteo Homola and Luca Filippi. And Nathan Biel and Aurelien Comte on row 8. Row 9, Victor Davidovsky and David Kajaya, Maxime Potti and Jimmy Claret. Jolt Szabo is alongside Julien Brichet, Ollie Kangas and Teddy Claret. Abdullah Ali Al-Khelaifi is alongside Tamas Tenka. Then at the back of the grid, Sylvain Poussier, that we hardly saw yesterday, is alongside Martin Rieber in the other Brutal Fish Honda. There is Dan Lloyd, though, who inherited the victory of race 1 yesterday, and the race 1 winner was Andreas Beckman, as you'll have seen if you were with us 24 hours ago. But after the race, in post-race scrutineering, the car was found to have failed 2 technical tests, basically, on the front width and also the bodywork overhang of the tyres. So Andreas was excluded from the results, and also the man who finished second, Nelson Ponciatici, was subsequently given the equivalent of a drive-through penalty, which was 30 seconds for a collision with Jessica Beckman. And so third for Dan Lloyd became first, and so Lloyd takes his first win by default in TCR Europe. That's the position with the drivers' points then. Josh Files having opened up a massive lead, 61 points now over Julien Brichet. So whatever happens, it'll be that man, Josh Files, who will leave Oschersleben as the Drivers' Championship leader. Matteo Homola third, Luca Engstler fourth, and then there is Lloyd. That win yesterday having moved him up to 11th place, but a long, long way back on Josh Files. And also, whilst we're talking about championship points, remember we've got 2 more race meetings after this weekend. We're in Barcelona in 7 weeks' time for the penultimate round, and then Monza in Italy for the final round in October. But target competition, a massive lead in the team standings, 526 points they have currently, and they are 226 points clear of second-placed WRT. Mira, incidentally, a third on 248. There is Julien Brichet, winner of race 2 in the first 3 rounds of the series. Not, I suspect, able to do that today from way, way back on the grid. As we look up then, as all 28 cars, there is the last man on the grid, Martin Rieber. The cars form up on the grid. What will happen in the sprint down to the left-hander at turn 1? On the left of your screen is Alex Morgan. On the right of your screen is Josh Files. Files knows that it is tricky, to say the least, to overtake here in Oschersleben. Green flag waves. The first few seconds of this race will be critical in that thrash down to turn 1. The lights go on, the revs rise. We are away for round 10 of TCR Europe, and it would appear that Josh Files has made a shocking start. Josh Files drops behind not only Alex Morgan, but Tom Coronel, who started from row 2 of the grid. Morgan it is who is first into turn 1. Then it's Coronel, Files, Baumann. Then it's Jessica Beckman with Santiago Urrutia and Gilles Magnus going pretty much side by side in the 2 Audis. But a great start from Alex Morgan, just the start he needed. And Josh Files, who was giving Alex some banter early on about who was going to be first into turn 1. An awful start for Josh, and that is one of the West Coast racing cars. Is that Gianni Morbidelli or Ollie Kangas? Kangas, I think it is, in the 46 car. No, indeed, Morbidelli in the 45 car, running wide across the grass. So we are through the most critical part of the race, which is that bunch up into turn 1, through the chicane for the first time. Everybody neatly through. No repeat of the bumping and banging that we saw in race 1 yesterday. So Alex Morgan leads in a Cupra. There is Dan Lloyd already mixing it with Nelson Ponciatici, and the pair finished in a reverse of that situation yesterday. Coronel just takes a little look. as we cross the start-finish line at the end of lap 1. Alex Morgan from the United Kingdom, Welsh driver, who switched from the Renault Megane to the Cupra, and a well-timed move, you have to say. The possibility, as I was saying yesterday, of the Megane reappearing later in the year, but with the decision of John Philippi to also withdraw, no Renault here in Oschersleben this weekend. Morgan then, from Coronel, from Files, from Baumann, Jessica Beckman, Santiago Urrutia is just ahead of Gilles Magnus in the 2 Audis. Then it's Panciatisi, Lloyd, Engstler, Andreas Beckman, Matteo Homola, Luca Filippi, Maxime Potti and Gianni Morbidelli. Those are the points positions, first down to 15th. And we saw yesterday that Dan Lloyd was very much on course for the victory. And, oh, very sideways through the chicane from Alex Morgan, but gets away with it. And tyre degradation may well come into this race as it did yesterday, that all it took was a slight slide from Dan Lloyd, the car just getting out of shape. And as Panciatisi takes a look up the inside of Gilles Magnus and indeed squeezes through, so Panciatisi takes 7th away from Magnus. And also having gone through is Dan Lloyd. So Lloyd and Panciatisi have taken Magnus. So behind Urrutia now in 6th is Panciatisi 7th. Engstler has also gone through. Dan Lloyd then is still 9th, having overtaken Magnus, who's dropped to 10th. Oh, contact then between 2 Hyundais. That is Homola and Luca Filippi. And Filippi muscling his way past. That's the scrap at 12th place. And just behind the 2 Hyundais, the 2 Volkswagens of Maxime Potti 14th, Gianni Morbidelli 15th. Let's take a look back at the start. And we can't see from this angle, but that was a shocking start from Josh Files. A few moves in midfield. Nice clean start. And it only took a few meters, it seems, for Coronel to get past Files. And everybody cleanly through turn 1. No repeat of the incident yesterday, which saw Jessica Beckman being hit by Nelson Panciatisi. And that was the moment that Gianni Morbidelli ran wide. And there is Kangas in the other West Coast car, just taking a dive up the inside of Claret. And this is the incident we saw a few moments ago, where a fairly muscular move between car 30, which is Luca Filippi, and Matteo Homola. And also, I'm seeing on my timing screen that the incident between 30 and 45 is under investigation. 30 is Luca Filippi, and 45 is Gianni Morbidelli. So was that incident where Morbidelli ran wide the result of a racing incident or a result of a collision? That is under investigation already. Meanwhile, though, at the head of the field, Alex Morgan still leads Tom Coronel. The pair, though, 2 tenths, just under 3 tenths apart. Then there's a slight gap to Josh Files, with Dominic Baumann behind him. Will Files settle for 3rd and the championship points and just let these 2 ahead get on with scrapping? Now, that's a very battle-scarred looking Hyundai on the left of Panciatisi, as Luca Engstler it is who is scrapping with him. Engstler is now 8th. Another little contact. So is there a bit of needle developing between these two, between Panciatisi and Luca Engstler? And the battle just keeps on coming. Panciatisi 7th and just bumps his way past Engstler. And indeed, 30 and 70 is now under investigation as well. So that incident that we saw between Filippi and Homola, so 2 incidents already involving Luca Filippi are under investigation. The lead opens out ever so slightly. 34 hundredths of a second now, Alex Morgan leads Tom Coronel. Engstler is up into 7th, Lloyd is up to 8th, Panciatisi drops to 9th. And Morbidelli has got past Maxime Potti, the two Volkswagens. That's down in 14th and 15th. Now, neither Alex Morgan nor Tom Coronel have won in TCR Europe so far this year. Morgan, you'll remember, finished on the podium last time out at the Red Bull Ring 3 weeks ago. There is Santiago Urrutia, currently running in 6th place behind Jessica Beckman. And I know, judging by social media reaction, the two drivers with the biggest social media support, very much David Kajaya from Georgia and Santiago Urrutia. Oh, and there is Maxime Potti, sideways and backwards indeed, sliding down the wall, and hopefully we'll get a replay of what caused that problem for Maxime Potti. And if he can get it underway, then fingers crossed we won't need a safety car or anything with that car able to be self-recovered. Here we go then. There is Potti. And not even a tap from Matto Homola. Oh, that'll be looked at, very much so. And I think a similar situation to yesterday's incident involving David Kajaya. So Matto Homola limping back around to the pits. And already the timing screen saying that that incident will be under investigation. 70 is Matto Homola, 88 is Maxime Potti. And Potti out, and Homola into the pits. Back then to our race leaders. Alex Morgan still battling with Tom Coronel, just under 0.3 of a second behind the pair. Between the pair, excuse me. Josh Files still third, Dominic Baumann fourth, Jessica Beckman, and indeed Homola hasn't even made it round into the pits. That's the pit entrance, and so he's off the track, but parked up, having not even made it round into the pits. So all change behind then. Down as far as 12th place, it's As You Were. Gianni Morbidelli then now up into 13th, Nathan Biel up to 14th, Aurelien Comte in the last of the point-scoring positions in 15th, and then just outside the top 15, David Kajaya 16th, Jimmy Claret 17th, Julien Brichet 18th. Around turn 14 then, onto the start-finish straight. Roughly halfway through this race, 23 minutes plus 1 lap. Potti's going again, which is good news. And that's the other angle. And Homola just keeps his foot in, spins Potti around and through the gravel for Homola. And whatever the cause of the incident, Homola didn't even make it back into the pits. Another incident under investigation, 12, which is Ponziatisi, and 8 is Luca Engstler. So which one of those incidents, I wonder, under investigation? Because that incident seemed to go on for a while. Magnus now dropped to 11th. The two Audis were running together in the early stages. There is Magnus. Slight gap back from Magnus to Luca Filippi. Morbidelli right up behind the Hyundai. Coronel lights ablaze, hoping to put off Alex Morgan. But Morgan hopefully immune to it all. Oh, that's a nightmare for Dan Lloyd. Dan Lloyd with smoke pouring from the car. Now, our race 1 winner is out, and will that require intervention, I wonder? And we're being told that the incident between Luca Filippi and Matto Homola, no further action, so that's already been sorted. So again, the running order is shuffled ever so slightly. There is a yellow flag to protect that incident involving Dan Lloyd, but no sign of a safety car as yet. So behind Engstler down in 7th, Ponziatisi now moves up to 8th, Andreas Beckman to 9th, Magnus to 10th, Luca Filippi to 11th, Gianni Morbidelli to 12th, Nathan Biel to 13th, Aurelien Comte to 14th, and into the points comes David Kajaya and Kajaya's teammate in PCR Sport, Abdullah Ali Al-Khelaifi, into the pits. So that lead has opened up ever so slightly. Pretty much from the start of the race, the pair have been, what, 3/10 or thereabouts apart? Alex Morgan, when they went across the timing loop a little earlier, 6/10 now the gap, but Coronel still sticking with him and hoping for the same kind of issues that forced Dan Lloyd to run wide and lose the lead yesterday. Santiago Urrutia moves up to 5th now, ahead of Jessica Beckman. And already ahead of Urrutia is Dominic Baumann, but Baumann well aware that he's playing a supporting role, as I mentioned earlier, to Josh Files, who's very much going for the driver's title this year. A disappointing season last year in TCR Europe for Josh Files by his standard. Double TCR Germany champion, TCR Middle East champion. Peugeots of Julien Brichet and Jimmy Claret scrapping for 16th place meanwhile. But at the moment, Josh Files is sitting comfortably at the head of the drivers' standings. And he's not particularly bothered. The two men ahead of him will play no part in that championship battle. So Alex Morgan and Tom Coronel, they can do whatever they like as far as Josh Files is concerned. He's content to currently sit in 3rd place, knowing that he's got his teammate, his new teammate, Dominic Baumann, behind him to fend off the attractions of Santiago Urrutia. And Morbidelli, another disappointment, yet another disappointment for West Coast. And Gianni Morbidelli, there he is at the, and a tyre letting go in most spectacular fashion for Gianni Morbidelli. The Golf is parked up, but will the race director decide that it is a safety car that's needed while that car is recovered? So your top 10 then, with under 10 minutes of this race remaining. Alex Morgan leads from Tom Coronel, Josh Files 3rd, Dominic Baumann 4th, Santiago Urrutia 5th, Jessica Beckman 6th, 7th is Luca Engstler, 8th is Nelson Ponciatici, 9th is Andreas Beckman, and 10th at the moment is Gilles Magnus. 2 yellow flags currently out, protecting, and you can see there the bodywork from Gianni Morbidelli's car. And indeed, Morbidelli's car is way off the racing line on the runoff area. But I suspect the race director and the local clerk of the course will be looking at it to make sure that it is in a safe place, as is Dan Lloyd's car. And of course, no overtaking, excuse me, in those 2 zones. Ponciatici's car looking more like a rallycross car with the amount of debris up the side from running wide. Andreas Beckman right behind Ponciatici. But still it's Alex Morgan who leads. The gap back down to 0.4, just under 0.5 of a second between Alex Morgan and Tom Coronel. Josh Files, though, content, it would seem, to sit where he is in 3rd. Dominic Baumann in 4th, just ahead of Santiago Urrutia. And after the dramas we saw yesterday, this race a little more processional, but I say that with my fingers crossed, because you pretty much never know what's going to happen. Yesterday I threw the commentator's curse at Dan Lloyd when he was leading, and I thought on course for victory, and saying far too experienced to let the lights flashing and all the other antics get to him. And it was in the left-hander that he got things just slightly wrong, ran momentarily wide. Andreas Beckmann seized the opportunity, dived up the inside, and then as Dan Lloyd moved across to defend, Nelson Poncia TC went through as well. Subsequently, first and second, of course, lost those positions and Dan Lloyd inherited the victory. But I think Dan certainly feels that there is unfinished business and wants to win in his own terms rather than be handed the victory by the stewards. Behind the top 15 places, Zsolt Szabo now up into 18th in the Mira Hyundai. Teddy Claret up, Victor Davidovsky down, so that's 19th and 20th changing hands. As we're looking at the battle for 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. 12th is Nathan Biel, 13th is Aurélien Comte, 14th is David Kajaya, and 15th is Jimmy Claret. So these are the drivers at the bottom end of the point-scoring places. Kajaya just takes a little look, moves across to defend. So a Hyundai, 2 Peugeots and a Cupra involved in this particular scrap. Aurélien Comte just flashes his lights just to let Nathan Biel, fellow Frenchman, know that he's there. And it's all about gamesmanship, this. It's all about just... Oh, a little kiss there from David Kajaya on the back of Aurélien Comte's car, but no issues, done in a straight line, and so Comte retains the position. But after yesterday, you'd think that Kajaya would be very careful what he gets up to. And the incident involving Gianni Morbidelli is under investigation. Now, what incident was that? The tyre seemed to explode. Now, whether there was contact before, I don't know, but it's... The timing screen just says incident involving 45. 0.4 of a second. There is Hommler in the pits, minus his car. Just under half a second between Morgan and Coronel at the head of the field. You have to say Alex Morgan has done well. Lights to, I won't say flag because that will be tempting fate. But under 4 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining, and Alex Morgan has done exactly what he needs to do right from the lights going out. Urrutia still has Jessica Beckmann in very close attendance. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Just behind Jessica is Luca Engstler, who really could do with moving up 1 or 2 places, because he can see his great championship rival, Josh Files, about to record another podium finish and another big haul of points. So once again, lots of work for the stewards to do after this race. All yellow flags now removed, and so all bets are off for the final 3 or 4 minutes of this race. A slight gap now between Nelson Poncia TC and Andreas Beckmann. And completing yet another lap, Alex Morgan in the Cupra with Tom Coronel, who is well aware, of course, what the Cupra can do and maybe what its weaknesses are, because Coronel might be driving a Honda in TCR Europe, but he drives a Cupra in WTCR, and also announced this week that he's not quite content with all this touring car racing and he wants to go doing rallycross as well, so filling up his calendar even further. No changes amongst the top 15, 16. As the clock ticks steadily downwards. This is the battle we were watching earlier on, and that's Kajaya against Claret, with also Julien Brichet now joining in the fight. Brichet keen to get into the points. Brichet currently 16th, so out of the point-scoring places. Kajaya defending both from Jimmy Claret and Brichet. Brichet, though, diving up the inside of Claret, and possibly also has the inside line on Kajaya. So, 2 positions potentially for Jimmy Claret. Oh, and indeed, Kajaya pulls off, to the disappointment, I can almost hear the groans from here, of the Georgian fans. Julien Brichet moves up from 16th to 14th. in one fell swoop. Now, what happened to Kajaya? There didn't appear to be contact there, or if it was very slight. But David Kajaya, once again, 0 points. So had a black flag yesterday and retired in the pits. Today, pulling up, and bitter disappointment for the Georgian driver. But we are 2 laps from home. This is then our penultimate lap. The next time our race leader crosses the start-finish line will be to start the final lap. And the intense look on the faces of the guys in the Boutsen-Gignon garage. Their man currently second place, 0.4 of a second. That gap has been remarkably consistent throughout this race. Tom Coronel just breathing down the neck of Alex Morgan. And Josh Files has closed up slightly, but I suspect he's not going to want to risk anything. He's potentially more than happy with third place. Dominic Baumann is still protecting the back of Josh from Santiago Urrutia, Jessica Beckman and Luca Engstler. Through the chicane for the penultimate time. Alex Morgan, Tom Coronel, Josh Files, Dominic Baumann, there he is, the 58 Hyundai. Then it's Urrutia, Jessica Beckman, Luca Engstler, Nelson Ponciatici, Andreas Beckman, Gilles Magnus, Luca Filippi, Nathan Biel, then Aurélien Comte, then Brichet, as I said, 16th to 14th. And then Jimmy Claret in the second of the Claret Sport Peugeots, now in the points in 15th place. Still going on. That scrap for 8th place between Ponciatici and Beckman, but I think the pair are just too far apart. So last lap indeed then for Alex Morgan. One more lap, 1.5 minutes, just over, for Alex to hang on, to keep Tom Coronel at bay and record his first victory in TCR Europe. A British winner yesterday in Dan Lloyd, potentially a British winner today with Alex Morgan. Coronel, having played the waiting game throughout this race, a much better start than Josh Files. Files, though, content, it would appear, with third place and the championship points. So of the 28 runners, 21 still running. Kajaya, Kangas, Morbidelli, Al-Khelaifi, Dan Lloyd, Homola and Tenka, our retirees from this second race, round 10 of TCR Europe 2019 here at Oschersleben. But it is Alex Morgan who is now almost home. Tom Coronel has a few final corners to do something about the position. Morgan, though, defending. Turns right. One more right-hander. Tom Coronel just takes a look up the inside, but he's not quite close enough. Around turn 14 for the final time. There is the checkered flag beckoning for Alex Morgan, and it waves. Morgan flashes his lights and takes the victory. Alex Morgan wins from Tom Coronel. Josh Files, championship leader, finishes third ahead of Dominic Baumann, Santiago Urrutia, Jessica Beckman, Luca Engstler, Nelson Ponciatici and Andreas Beckman, with Gilles Magnus rounding off the top 10. The remainder of the point-scoring positions are filled by Luca Filippi, who is in 11th place, and just waiting for the cars to cross the line. Nathan Biel in 12th, 13th is Aurélien Comte, 14th is Julien Brichet, and Jimmy Claret in 15th place. Congratulations to Alex Morgan, the very, very experienced and ever so slightly unpredictable, you have to say, Tom Coronel, behind him throughout the race. But Alex Morgan more than happy, I suspect, with that drive, and sending a very clear message that he is a force to be reckoned with in TCR machinery. And I don't think Mike Halder, whose car that is here this weekend, but I'm sure he's watching. So Mike and the team, that is a good car that you've given Alex Morgan for this weekend. An awful lot of work went onto that car last night, after the damage inflicted by the incident with Kajaya. So also, you have to say, as well as a great drive from Alex Morgan, a brilliant job overnight by the Wolf Power guys to get the car sorted out. Lots of bent panels, lots of issues such as suspension that needed changing, and I suspect a big bill at the end of the day, but Alex Morgan won't be worried about any of that at the moment. Neither will that man, Josh Files, who we were talking earlier on, and as I said, there was a little bit of banter going on between Josh and Alex about who was going to be first to turn one. And in the end, it was immaterial. Josh Files made what looked like an extremely poor start by his standards. Maybe he was worried about that car. As we said, it's had its issues this weekend. Josh Files finishing third, and the highest placed finisher of the championship contenders here this weekend, so he extends his championship lead. We'll look at the points position in a moment. In fact, there it is, 254 points for Josh Files. Engstler, 176 points. Brichet drops to third with 166. Hommler now fourth after failing to score. Urrutia fifth, Ponciatici sixth. And needless to say, Target Competition will have extended their lead, their huge lead, in the team standings with 4 more races, so 2 meetings, and a total of 85 points up for grabs at each race meeting. 5 points for pole position, and then 40 points for victory in each of the races. So there is Coronel. There is Alex Morgan coming in. And Josh Files already out of his car, waiting to congratulate Alex. There he is. Congratulations from the guys from Wolf Power for a job well done for Alex Morgan. There is Alex's dad, Philip. Always at the races, always supporting his son. So British drivers first and third. Oh, that took a while to appear. Car number 50 is Tom Coronel. Got penalised at the Red Bull Ring for a grid infringement. The car the car still being worked on with a 5-minute board. And now, at the end of the race, news that Tom Coronel is under investigation for a possible jump start. Whether that will be resolved in the next few minutes and so will affect the podium ceremony, I don't know. But not the news that Tom Coronel wanted. But as things stand, this is how they crossed the line. Alex Morgan taking the victory from Tom Coronel by just under 0.4 of a second. Josh Files third, Dominic Baumann fourth, Santiago Urrutia fifth, Jessica Beckman, Luca Engstler, Nelson Ponciatici, Andreas Beckman, and Gilles Magnus completing the top 10. And then, as I was saying earlier, the points positions then completed by Luca Filippi, Nathan Biel, Aurélien Comte, Julien Brichet, and Jimmy Claret, with Jabo, Claret, the other Claret, Teddy, Davidovsky, Reba, and Potty rounding off the top 20. And in fact, the only other classified finisher is Sylvain Poussier, with all of the other drivers classed as non-finishers. Let's hear from a delighted race winner. Alex Morgan is with Alfredo Filippone.
Alex Morgan, winner at Oschersleben. What a race.
It was an incredible race. I was a little bit nervous coming into it about the start because we've had limited testing with that, but it was the start of my life and I got away clean into turn 1 and then just did my best to try and extend the gap, but Tom kept me honest the whole way through, put a lot of pressure on me, but I'm just absolutely delighted to come home and win this race. The team, Wolf Power Racing, they've worked so hard. It's been a difficult year, but it's just a crowning moment to get that. Absolutely delighted.
And it was all about focus and resilience, eh?
Yeah, there were a few curveballs thrown in there. There was a bit of oil down on the track, and obviously being in the lead, I was the first one to find it. So I had a moment where I thought I was going off in the chicane, and then I looked behind, I could see Tom right behind me. So that was a bit of a testing moment, and I had to just do qualifying. That was basically the whole race, and just keep my head cool and bring it home. And we managed to do it, no mistakes. So brilliant.
And it's nice for a relatively small team, right?
Yes, I think we're probably the smallest team on the grid. And if you looked at the car before it went out, it was quite battle-scarred, but it's an absolute beauty of a car, and it's done its job. So thank you again to Team Halder for preparing it all, and Wolf Power Racing for preparing on the weekend. We are a small team, and it's just fantastic to have this kind of result amongst some really big teams.
well deserved, well done, and enjoy the moment.
Thank you very much.
I don't think Alex is a Welsh speaker, but llongyfarchiadau I Alex Morgan.
Oh, right, great.
Congratulations, that means. Now, maybe we should take a look back at this start, because we've only recently found out that Tom Coronel is under investigation. So take a look then at the second row. And I think just as we went to that shot, Coronel just seemed to creep forward. Yes, indeed, there are two definite moves. So that's potentially what the stewards are looking at. How it took so long for it to be flagged up, I don't know, but it has been flagged up. That will be considered after the podium. There's certainly nothing on my timing screen at the moment about a penalty, and so as things stand, but let's remind ourselves of some of the highlights of that race. So just to confirm the driver's point situation, we discussed it earlier on. Files still way out in front, 78 points now ahead of Luca Engschler, who moves back into second place. Brichet drops to third, Hommler drops to fourth. Urrutia is up into fifth, to the delight, I suspect, of our Uruguayan viewers. Nelson Ponciatici up to sixth, with Gilles Magnus dropping to seventh, and Andreas Beckmann now in eighth place. So, that's an interesting situation with 4 rounds left. Josh Files will be a difficult man to catch. But I suppose this was the event where it was always going to happen for Josh Files. Experienced here at Oschersleben. And was looking for at least one victory. It didn't happen, but as things stood, 2 podium finishes for Josh Files. And out he goes on to the podium then for... And there is the ostrich waiting to embrace him.
He said it already. I saw him coming and said no more fighting. Here is the second place from Netherlands, Tom Coronel.
And always missed a selfie. That'll be on social media very shortly. Tom Coronel. And there is Coronel Jr. sharing the moment with his dad.
Great Britain, congratulations, Alex Morgan.
And Alex Morgan, a delighted Alex Morgan, after that race-long battle with Tom Coronel, takes the honours for the win. And a representative from Wolf Power Racing congratulating the guys on the podium as we have the, and another embrace, we have the national anthem of the winning driver.
The national anthem from Great Britain. Wollte eigentlich schon früher. Jetzt lassen wir ihn auf Sieger los. Motorsport Organization.
So the presentation of the trophies then. First place to Alex Morgan from the United Kingdom, Wolf Power Racing Cupra.
Mauro Santa, Yokohama Global Motorsport Coordinator, will give the prize to the winning team. The winning team is on the right side. Correct.
Congratulations to Wolf Power for particularly their hard work last night and very early this morning getting that car turned around after the damage in race 1. the second place trophy to Tom Coronel. For now, at least, whether that start will cause him a problem in the next hour or so remains to be seen. And then third place, another podium finish for Josh Files.
It's maybe the winner of this weekend, Josh Files.
So everybody bunch up for the photograph.
For the photographers in front of you, please push a little bit together on the podium, please, with your trophies in your hands, including the team. So here they are, the winner.
Congratulations, everybody.
This year.
Once the photographers have had their moment. And this is where our cameraman, you see him on the left, legs it through the door before the champagne sprays. Right then. Oh, another selfie for Tom. Right, now the champagne. And is it Rocco, Tom's son, gets nicely clear as Alex Morgan gets a face full of champagne. He won't mind, I suspect, because that will taste extremely sweet after the hard work of, what was it, 24, 25 minutes in the lead of that race, with Tom Coronel around half a second behind him for the majority of the race. Josh Files, as I said earlier on, I think hardly bothering about the two men ahead of him, picking up all those championship points for third position. Congratulations to all of them. Thanks to you for your company both today and yesterday for race 1. That is the position then as we head to the penultimate round of the TCR Europe Series. That's in Barcelona in 7 weeks' time. So the shortest break of the season after the Red Bull Ring, 3 weeks, is now followed by one of the longest breaks when TCR Europe takes its summer holiday. We're back in 7 weeks' time in Barcelona. And then to wrap up the series, the following month in October, we'll be at Monza in Italy. Will it be Josh Files that can wrap things up in Spain in 7 weeks' time? You'll have to join us to find out. But as I say, we've enjoyed streaming the free practice sessions and also the qualifying as well as the 2 races. We hope you've enjoyed it as well. But for now, it's goodbye.